The moment he called her desperate, Nora knew Christmas Eve was about to become her worst nightmare. Her blind date stood up, tossed cash on the table like she was a bad tip, and walked out, leaving her alone in a restaurant full of happy families. She wanted to disappear, but then a small hand tugged her sleeve. "Are you sad?" a little girl whispered. And everything changed. Stay with me until the end of this story, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this journey has traveled. The restaurant smelled like garlic bread and broken dreams. Nora Hale sat frozen at table 14, her emerald dress suddenly feeling like a costume she had no business wearing. Around her, the cheerful chaos of Christmas Eve at Bella Notte swirled, couples feeding each other tiramisu, grandparents wiping marinara sauce from toddlers' faces, a family of 8 singing Happy Birthday off-key while a waiter carried out a flaming dessert. Everyone belonged here except her. Her phone lay face down on the white tablecloth, still showing the last text message from her best friend Maya. "You've got this. He's going to love you." Except he hadn't. Jason Matthews, 34, investment banker, loves hiking and golden retrievers according to his dating profile, had taken one look at her, plastered on a smile thin as paper, and suffered through exactly 23 minutes of conversation before delivering the killing blow. "Look, I'm just going to be honest," he'd said, pushing back his chair with a scrape that made nearby diners glance over. "This isn't working for me. You seem, I don't know, desperate, like you're trying too hard." Nora's breath had caught in her throat. "Excuse me?" The dress, the jewelry, the whole eager thing. He'd waved his hand vaguely at her. "It's a lot. And I just got out of something serious, so I'm not looking for someone who's going to, immediately want to lock me down." I didn't... She'd started to protest, but he was already pulling out his wallet. "Here's $40 for my drink and half the bread. Sorry, but I learned to trust my gut, and my gut says this isn't it." He'd dropped 2 20s on the table like she was a parking meter. "Merry Christmas." And then he'd left. Just walked out. While Bing Crosby crooned about white Christmases through the restaurant speakers, and a little boy at the next table asked his dad if Santa was real, Jason Matthews had looked at Nora like she was fundamentally unlovable and walked away. That had been 7 minutes ago. Now Nora sat paralyzed, mascara threatening to run, grandmother's pearls heavy around her neck. The pearls had been her Nana's, the woman who'd raised her after her parents died in a car accident when she was 6. Nana, who told her she was beautiful and worthy and enough. Nana, who died 3 years ago, leaving Nora with pearls and loneliness and an apartment that echoed. "Can I get you anything else, miss?" The waiter appeared at her elbow, young and kind-eyed, clearly having witnessed the whole disaster. "I'm fine," Nora whispered, though her voice cracked on the word. "Just the check, please." "Your friend already paid his portion. Would you like me to—" "I'll take care of it." She fumbled for her purse, desperate to escape before the dam broke, and she started crying in public. "Just give me a minute." The waiter nodded and melted away, tactful enough not to offer sympathy she couldn't bear. Nora stared at the untouched glass of wine in front of her, Chianti, which she'd ordered because Jason's profile said he loved Italian reds. She'd spent an hour getting ready. She'd rewatched that YouTube video on how to be charming on a first date. She'd practiced conversation starters in the mirror, feeling ridiculous, but doing it anyway because Maya said confidence was attractive, and Nora had been running on empty in that department for months. Years, if she was honest. "Stop trying so hard," her ex, David, had told her when he broke up with her 2 years ago. "You're exhausting." Before David, there'd been Ryan, who'd ghosted her after 4 dates. Before Ryan, scattered attempts at connection that fizzled like wet fireworks. And before all of them, there'd been her high school sweetheart, Connor, who'd left for college and never looked back. At 32, Nora was starting to suspect she was the common denominator in her own disasters. The restaurant blurred as tears finally spilled over. She grabbed her napkin, dabbing carefully, hoping no one noticed the kindergarten teacher having a breakdown next to the Christmas tree in the corner. Desperate, trying too hard. Was she? Was there something fundamentally wrong with wanting to be wanted? With hoping that maybe, just maybe, the universe would stop being cruel long enough to let her have what everyone else seemed to find so easily? Her phone buzzed. Maya. "How's it going?" "Details." Nora couldn't type the truth. Not yet. Not while she was still sitting in the wreckage. She took a shaky breath and reached for her wine, thinking maybe if she drank it, she'd at least get $40 worth of dignity from this nightmare. But as she lifted the glass, a small voice cut through the noise. "Are you okay?" Nora looked down. A little girl stood beside her table, maybe 5 or 6 years old, with wild blonde curls that refused to be tamed by the red velvet headband, trying valiantly to hold them back. She wore a white dress with a red sash, Christmas card perfect except for the spaghetti sauce stain near the collar. Her blue eyes were wide and serious. Nora quickly wiped her face, forcing a smile. "I'm fine, sweetie. Thank you for asking." The girl tilted her head, unconvinced. "You don't look fine. You look like my daddy did when Mommy's picture fell off the wall and the glass broke everywhere." Before Nora could respond, a man's voice called out, "Lily, what did I tell you about staying at the table?" A tall figure emerged from the crowd. Early 30s, dark hair slightly disheveled, wearing a navy sweater that had seen better days. He looked mortified as he hurried over, his hand reaching for the little girl's shoulder. "I'm so sorry," he said to Nora, his hazel eyes genuinely apologetic. "Lily, you can't just walk up to strangers." "But she's crying, Daddy." Lily pointed at Nora with the brutal honesty only children possessed. "And she's all alone. On Christmas. That's sad." The man, her father, apparently, looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. "Lily, that's not... We don't comment on... It's okay," Nora heard herself say, though she felt anything but okay. "Really, she's sweet." Lily beamed at the validation. Then, with the fearless audacity of childhood, she announced, "We should sit with her, Daddy. Nobody should be alone on Christmas. Mommy used to say that, remember? Before she became an angel." The silence that followed was heavy enough to drown in. The man's face cycled through several emotions: grief, embarrassment, exhaustion, and something softer that Nora couldn't name. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that screamed struggling single dad at the end of his rope. "Lily, I'm sure this nice lady has her own..." "I don't," Nora blurted out. Then, surprising herself, she added, "I mean, I was supposed to have dinner plans, but they fell through. So if you and your daughter want to join me, I wouldn't mind the company." She didn't know what made her say it. Maybe it was the look in Lily's eyes, that combination of concern and hope that reminded Nora of her kindergarten students. Maybe it was the fact that sitting alone felt unbearable right now, and two strangers were better than her own spiraling thoughts. Or maybe it was the man's obvious discomfort, which made her feel less pathetic by comparison. Whatever the reason, the words were out. The man hesitated, clearly torn between social convention and his daughter's pleading eyes. "Please, Daddy," Lily whispered, tugging his hand. "I have a feeling." "A feeling?" he asked warily. "A good feeling, like the kind you get before something nice happens." He looked at Nora, really looked at her, and she saw him register the smudged mascara, the emergency smile, the untouched wine. Understanding flickered across his face, not pity, but recognition. The recognition of someone who knew what loneliness looked like because he'd worn it himself. "Are you sure?" he asked Nora quietly. "Because we don't want to intrude." "I'm sure," Nora said, and meant it. "I could use the company. And your daughter seems determined." Lily's face split into a grin. "I'm very determined. Daddy says it's my superpower. Also, I'm really good at puzzles, and I know all the words to let it go." Despite everything, Nora laughed. A real laugh that felt like oxygen after drowning. "Those are excellent qualifications." The man extended his hand, a small smile tugging at his lips. "I'm Mark Ellison, and this whirlwind of social boundary violations is my daughter, Lily." "Nora Hale." She shook his hand, noting the calluses, the firm grip, the wedding ring conspicuously absent. "And I'm a kindergarten teacher, so social boundary violations are kind of my specialty." "You teach kindergarten?" Lily's eyes went wide. "That's the best job in the whole world, except being a princess, or a veterinarian, or a princess veterinarian." "It's pretty great," Nora agreed. Mark pulled out the chair across from Nora, then lifted Lily into the seat beside her. "Let me just grab our stuff from our table. Be right back." As he walked away, Lily leaned toward Nora conspiratorially. "My daddy is sad a lot," she whispered. But he pretends he's not because he thinks I don't notice. But I notice everything. I'm very servant. Observant? Nora suggested gently. Yeah, that. Lily nodded seriously. Mommy died 2 years ago, in a car accident. So now it's just me and Daddy, and he tries really hard, but sometimes I hear him crying in the bathroom when he thinks I'm asleep. Nora's heart cracked. I'm sorry, sweetheart. That must be really hard. It is. Lily picked up Nora's unused salad fork, examining it like it held secrets. But Daddy says Mommy is watching us from heaven, and she wants us to be happy. So I try to be happy, even when it's hard. Do you think it's okay to be happy, even when you're sad? The question was so profound, so achingly mature from such a small person, that Nora had to swallow past the lump in her throat. I think, she said carefully, that being happy and being sad can happen at the same time. And that's okay. We're allowed to feel lots of things all at once. Lily considered this, then nodded. You're smart. Are all kindergarten teachers smart? The good ones are, Mark said, returning with a booster seat, plates of half-eaten pasta, and a stuffed bunny missing one ear. Sorry, Lily conned me into bringing Mr. Floppybottom. Mr. Floppybottom? Nora raised an eyebrow. I named him when I was 3, Lily explained with dignity. It was a very good name then. Mark set up the booster seat and transferred Lily's dinner, spaghetti and meatballs, mostly redistributed into abstract art on the plate. Then he sank into the chair across from Nora, and for a moment they just looked at each other. This is weird, right? He said finally. Extremely weird, Nora agreed. Should we pretend it's not weird and just have dinner? That seems like the healthiest option. Grown-ups are strange, Lily announced to Mr. Floppybottom. But we love them anyway. The waiter appeared, doing an admirable job of not looking confused by the sudden table reconfiguration. Should I bring another menu? Please, Mark said, and maybe a kid's hot chocolate with extra whipped cream? With sprinkles? Lily asked hopefully. With sprinkles, Mark confirmed. It's Christmas. As the waiter left, an awkward silence settled. Nora twisted her napkin in her lap. Mark studied the menu like it was in a foreign language. Lily hummed Jingle Bells and made Mr. Floppybottom dance on the table. So, Mark said finally, Lily mentioned your plans fell through. It was a carefully neutral question, an opening to share or deflect. Nora appreciated the escape route built into his tone. She took a breath. Blind date. He lasted 23 minutes before deciding I was too desperate. Mark winced. Ouch! Yeah, Nora managed a rueful smile. Apparently trying is the same as being desperate, and I committed the cardinal sin of wearing a nice dress and caring about making a good impression. What an idiot, Mark said simply. The straightforward kindness of it startled her. You don't even know me. I know anyone who walks out on someone after 23 minutes is either an idiot or an asshole. Possibly both. He paused. Sorry, shouldn't curse in front of asshole, Lily repeated cheerfully. Mark closed his eyes. Great. That's going to come up at preschool. I'm in kindergarten now, Daddy. Get it right. Lily turned to Nora. He forgets I'm growing up. Soon I'll be in college, and he'll still be cutting my sandwiches into triangles. Triangles taste better, Mark said defensively. It's science. That's not science, that's silly. Watching them banter, Nora felt something unknot in her chest. This ordinary, messy, loving dynamic was what she'd been wanting when she agreed to dinner with Jason. Not perfection, not a fairy tale, just connection, realness, the feeling of belonging somewhere, even temporarily. The waiter returned with a menu for Mark and an elaborate hot chocolate for Lily. Whipped cream piled high, rainbow sprinkles, and a candy cane stuck in like a flag. Lily's eyes went wide. Best Christmas ever, she breathed. It's pretty spectacular, Nora agreed. Mark ordered chicken parmesan without really looking at the menu, and when the waiter asked if Nora wanted anything else, she surprised herself by ordering ravioli. She'd assumed she'd leave after finishing her wine, but something about this strange little trio made her want to stay. So, kindergarten teacher, Mark said once they were alone again. How does someone end up in that profession? Secret love of chaos? Nora smiled. Something like that. My grandmother raised me and she was a teacher. Second grade. I grew up in her classroom after school, grading papers and arranging bulletin boards. She made it look like magic, the way she could reach kids, make them feel special. I wanted to do that too. Is she still teaching? She passed away 3 years ago. Nora surprised herself with the ease of sharing. Cancer. It was fast. Mark's expression softened with understanding. I'm sorry, that's really hard. It is. Nora traced the rim of her wine glass. She was my person, you know? After my parents died, she was everything. And when she was gone, I realized I'd built my whole life around her. My job, my apartment near her house, my routines. Suddenly I was 30 and alone, and didn't know how to be a person without her. I know that feeling, Mark said quietly. They shared a look. The recognition of grief. The unspoken understanding that loss rearranges you into someone you don't recognize. What about you? Nora asked. What do you do when you're not being ambushed into dinner by your socially fearless daughter? I'm an architect, residential mostly. I design houses for other people to have perfect lives in. His smile was wry. The irony is not lost on me. Daddy designs beautiful houses, Lily chimed in, mouth full of whipped cream. But we live in an apartment because houses are expensive. Expensive, Mark corrected automatically. And yes, houses cost money, which is why Daddy draws them instead of buying them. Will you draw me a house someday? Lily asked, a question Nora suspected she'd asked before. Someday, Mark promised, and the love in his voice was so raw it hurt to hear. When we can afford it, I'll design you the best house in the world, with a tower for a princess and a room for Mr. Floppy Bottom and a kitchen big enough for all the cookies we can bake. And a mom? Lily asked softly. The question dropped like a stone into water, ripples spreading through the silence. Mark's face went carefully neutral. Lily? I know Mommy's not coming back, Lily said matter-of-factly. She's an angel. But maybe someday there could be someone new, someone who could be like a mommy, but different. Nora's eyes stung. She looked away, pretending sudden interest in the Christmas tree lights. Mark reached across the table and took his daughter's small hand. Maybe someday, he said gently. But that's not something we need to worry about right now, okay? We're doing fine, just us. But you're lonely, Daddy. Lily's voice was so certain, so sad. I can tell. Hey, Mark squeezed her hand. I'm not lonely when I have you. You're my favorite person in the whole world. But when I'm asleep, who's your favorite person then? The question was so innocently devastating that Nora had to press her napkin to her eyes. Mascara be damned. We should probably talk about something else, Mark said, his voice slightly strained. He looked at Nora apologetically. Sorry, this wasn't exactly the dinner conversation you signed up for. It's okay, Nora said, and meant it. Honestly, it's nice, real, better than making small talk about hiking and golden retrievers. Golden retrievers? Lily perked up. I want a golden retriever. Can we get one, Daddy? We've talked about this. Our apartment doesn't allow pets. That's a dumb rule. Very dumb, Mark agreed. But rules are rules. But their food arrived and the conversation shifted to safer territory. Favorite Christmas movies, Lily, Home Alone. Mark, It's a Wonderful Life. Nora, The Muppet Christmas Carol. Worst cafeteria foods, Lily had strong opinions about mystery meat, and whether Santa was magic or science. Lily firmly in the magic camp, though she had some questions about the physics of reindeer flight. Nora found herself relaxing, laughing at Lily's observations and Mark's dry humor. He was easy to talk to, self-deprecating without being pathetic, and genuinely interested in what she had to say. When she told a story about one of her students trying to bring a frog to show and tell in his pocket, Mark laughed so hard he nearly choked on his chicken. You have a great laugh, Nora said without thinking. Mark looked surprised. Thanks. I haven't laughed much lately. Not like that. Their eyes met across the table and something passed between them. Not attraction, exactly. Or not just attraction. Understanding, maybe. Recognition. The sense that they were both people trying to stay afloat in deep water, and for tonight, they'd found a piece of driftwood to share. Tell me about being an architect, Nora said. Do you love it? Mark considered the question seriously. I do. There's something satisfying about taking someone's dream, the way they want to live, the life they want to build, and making it tangible. Creating spaces where people will fall in love, raise kids, grow old. It matters. That's beautiful. It's also a lot of technical drawings and building codes, but yeah, when I remember why I started, it's beautiful. He paused. What about teaching? Do you still love it? Most days, Nora said honestly, there are days when I want to hide in the supply closet and eat my feelings in chocolate. But then a kid who's been struggling finally understands something, or they draw me a picture, or they hug me goodbye like I'm the most important person in their world, and I remember why I do it. You must be good at it. I try. Nora pushed her ravioli around her plate. Though lately I've been wondering if I'm good at anything except showing up. Teaching, dating, life in general, I feel like I'm going through the motions. You showed up tonight, Mark pointed out. After getting walked out on, you still stayed. You still said yes to having dinner with strangers. That takes guts. Or desperation, Nora said with a bitter laugh. According to Jason. Jason's an idiot, remember? Idiot, Lily echoed, and they all laughed. As dinner wound down, Lily started to yawn, her head drooping toward her plate. Mark caught her before she face-planted in the remaining spaghetti. Someone's tired, he said softly. I'm not tired, Lily mumbled, even as her eyes fluttered closed. Still having best Christmas. Mark lifted her gently, settling her against his shoulder. She tucked her face into his neck, Mr. Floppybottom clutched in one hand, and within seconds she was breathing the slow, steady rhythm of sleep. I should probably get her home, Mark said reluctantly. Nora nodded, trying to ignore the sudden disappointment. The evening had been a life raft, and now it was time to swim alone again. Mark signaled for the check, but Nora stopped him. Let me get it, please, as thanks for rescuing me, I guess. We didn't rescue you. You kind of did. Nora pulled out her credit card. Besides, you've got your hands full. Mark looked like he wanted to argue, but Lily shifted in his sleep and he adjusted his hold on her instead. At least let me pay my portion. Absolutely not. This was my treat. The next time it's mine, Mark said, and then seemed to realize what he'd said. I mean, if you wanted, I didn't mean to assume. Next time sounds nice, Nora said, her heart doing something complicated in her chest. They stood awkwardly by the door while Nora paid. Other diners filtered past them, heading into the cold December night. Through the restaurant windows, snow had started to fall. Fat, lazy flakes that made the streetlights glow. I should... Mark gestured toward the parking lot. Right, of course. But neither of them moved. Thank you, Mark said finally. For tonight. For saying yes when Lily bulldozed her way into your evening. For being kind when you had every reason not to be. Thank you for reminding me that not all men are Jason, Nora said, and that some Christmas miracles involve spaghetti stains and stuffed bunnies named Mr. Floppybottom. Mark smiled, really smiled, the kind that reached his eyes and made him look younger, less weighted by grief. Would it be okay if I got your number? I know tonight was weird, but I'd like to. I don't know. Get coffee? When Lily's in school. If you want. Nora's breath caught. I'd like that. They exchanged numbers, fingers fumbling with phones while trying not to wake Lily. Then they were outside, snow catching in their hair, their breath-forming clouds in the frozen air. Merry Christmas, Nora, Mark said softly. Merry Christmas, Mark. He carried Lily toward an older SUV parked under a streetlight. Nora watched them go, the tall man and the sleeping girl, their figures growing smaller against the snow. Just before he reached the car, Mark turned back. Hey, he called. For what it's worth. You weren't trying too hard. Jason just wasn't trying hard enough. And then he was gone. Driving away into the snowy night, leaving Nora standing alone in the parking lot with snowflakes melting on her cheeks and something that felt dangerously close to hope blooming in her chest. She pulled out her phone and texted Maya. Dinner went in an unexpected direction. Call you tomorrow. But Maya, I think I'm going to be okay. As she drove home through the silent streets, Christmas lights blurred into watercolors by the snow. Nora thought about Lily's question. Is it okay to be happy even when you're sad? Maybe it was. Maybe that was the whole point, finding moments of light in the darkness, saying yes to strangers who became friends, believing that the worst night of your life might just be the doorway to something better. She parked outside her apartment, but before going inside, she sat in the car and looked at her phone. Mark had texted, "Home safe." Lily woke up long enough to ask if you're real or if she dreamed you. I told her you're real. Thanks again for tonight. Nora smiled and typed back, "Tell her I'm real. And thank her for walking over. She saved me tonight." 3 dots appeared. She has a way of doing that. Sweet dreams, Nora. Sweet dreams, Mark. Nora climbed the stairs to her 3rd-floor apartment, the one that still smelled faintly of her grandmother's lavender sachets, the one that had felt like a tomb for the past 3 years. But tonight, as she unlocked the door and stepped inside, it felt different, less like an ending, more like a pause before something new could begin. She hung her grandmother's pearls on their hook, changed into pajamas, and crawled into bed. Outside, snow continued to fall on the silent city, on families sleeping in warm houses, on lonely people hoping for miracles, on a kindergarten teacher who'd been rejected and rescued in the same night. And somewhere across town, in a small apartment where the walls were thin and the heating was temperamental, a widowed father tucked his daughter into bed and allowed himself to believe, just for a moment, that maybe loneliness wasn't forever. Maybe sometimes the worst nights led to the best mornings. Maybe sometimes all it took was a little girl brave enough to ask, "Are you okay?" And a woman brave enough to answer honestly. Maybe, just maybe, they were all going to be fine. The coffee shop smelled like cinnamon and second chances. Nora arrived 15 minutes early, which she immediately regretted because it gave her too much time to spiral. She'd changed outfits 4 times that morning, too casual, too formal, trying too hard, not trying enough, before settling on jeans and a soft blue sweater that Maya had assured her made her eyes look ridiculously pretty. Now she sat at a corner table, nursing a latte she didn't taste, wondering if Mark would show up or if Christmas Eve had been a beautiful anomaly that couldn't survive the cold light of day. Her phone buzzed. Mark. Running 5 minutes late. Lily insisted on helping me pick a shirt. Apparently, I own nothing acceptable. Nora smiled despite her nerves and typed back, "Take your time. I'm the one who arrived embarrassingly early. That's not embarrassing. That's punctual. There's a difference." Is there, though? Lily says yes. She's very wise. 3 days had passed since Christmas Eve. 3 days of texts that started casual and grew longer, more honest. Mark had sent a photo of Lily making snow angels, captioned, "She asked if you like snow angels. I told her everyone likes snow angels, but she wants photographic evidence from you specifically." Nora had responded with a selfie of herself making an angel in the park, tongue stuck out, completely undignified. Lily had apparently declared it perfect and demanded it be printed for the refrigerator. The bell above the coffee shop door chimed, and Mark walked in, cheeks flushed from cold, hair slightly damp from melted snow. He wore a dark gray Henley that Lily had chosen well, and when his eyes found Nora across the room, his face broke into a smile that made her stomach flip. "Hi," he said, sliding into the chair across from her. "Hi." They grinned at each other like idiots for a moment before Mark cleared his throat. "So, coffee. We're doing this." "We're doing this," Nora confirmed. "How's Lily?" "Currently with my mother, probably being fed her weight in cookies and taught card games involving money." Mark signaled to the barista. "My mom still thinks she can turn Lily into a poker shark. I've accepted this is beyond my control." "Your mom sounds fun." "She's a force of nature. Raised 3 boys mostly by herself after my dad died. Refuses to admit she's 70 and has opinions about everything." His voice was warm with affection. "She'll want to meet you. Fair warning. She's been on me about getting back out there for a year now." The casual mention of meeting his mother sent a small thrill through Nora. "Does she know about me?" "I may have mentioned that Lily made a friend, and that said friend is a kindergarten teacher who doesn't mind being ambushed by socially aggressive 5-year-olds. Mark ordered an Americano, then turned back to Nora. "I didn't tell her it was a blind date gone wrong. Seemed like your story to share or not share." I appreciate that." Nora wrapped her hands around her latte. "Though honestly, after 3 days of thinking about it, the whole thing feels less humiliating and more I don't know. Necessary? Like it had to happen that way so I'd be sitting alone when Lily walked over. Lily calls those universe moments, Mark said. She's convinced the universe arranges things when people need them. When Sarah, my wife, died, Lily told me the universe made Mommy an angel because heaven needed her more than we did. She was 3. The rawness in his voice made Nora ache. That's beautiful. And heartbreaking. That's pretty much grief in a nutshell. Mark accepted his coffee from the barista with a nod of thanks. Beautiful and heartbreaking, sometimes in the same breath. They fell into silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Around them, the coffee shop hummed with after-Christmas activity. College students hunched over laptops, a book club arguing about plot holes, a teenager teaching their grandmother how to use Instagram. Normal life, ordinary and precious. Can I ask what happened? Nora ventured. With Sarah. You don't have to. No, it's okay. Mark stared into his coffee like it held answers. Car accident, black ice, wrong place, wrong time. She was on her way home from a work thing. Someone ran a red light going 50 in a 25 zone. She died on impact. They told me she didn't suffer, which is supposed to be comforting, but mainly it just means I didn't get to say goodbye. God, Mark, I'm so sorry. The worst part was telling Lily. His hands tightened around his cup. How do you tell a 3-year-old that Mommy's not coming home? That bedtime stories and birthday parties and first days of school will all happen without her? Lily kept asking when Mommy would be back from the hospital. She thought died meant sick. It took weeks for her to understand permanent. Nora reached across the table and covered his hand with hers. You're an amazing dad. That much is obvious. I'm a disaster dad who forgets to sign permission slips and feeds her cereal for dinner twice a week. You're a dad who shows up, who loves her, who brought her to a nice restaurant on Christmas Eve, even though you were probably exhausted. That's not disaster, that's dedication. Mark turned his hand over, lacing his fingers through hers. You're easy to talk to, dangerously easy. Is that bad? It's terrifying, he admitted. Sarah was it for me. High school sweethearts, married at 23, built our whole lives together. After she died, I couldn't imagine wanting anyone else. Didn't think I'd ever feel anything again. Nora's heart hammered. And now? Now I'm sitting in a coffee shop holding hands with a woman I met 3 days ago, and it feels like breathing after holding my breath for 2 years. He met her eyes. So yeah, terrifying. I'm terrified too, Nora confessed. Every relationship I've had has ended with someone telling me I'm too much or not enough. I'm terrified of being that person again, the one who tries too hard and scares people away. You didn't scare me away. You also didn't have much choice. Lily kind of forced your hand. Mark smiled. True, but I texted you after, asked you to coffee. That wasn't Lily, that was me, wanting to see you again because I couldn't stop thinking about the woman who said yes to having dinner with strangers and made my daughter laugh and looked at me like I wasn't broken. You're not broken, Nora said fiercely. Neither are you. He squeezed her hand. Different isn't broken, changed isn't broken. And anyone who made you feel broken was an idiot who didn't deserve you. They sat there, hands linked across the table, while the coffee shop bustled around them and snow fell past the windows. It felt fragile and enormous at the same time, this thing growing between them, tender and tentative and terrifying. So what do we do? Nora asked. With this? Honestly, I have no idea. Mark laughed softly. I haven't dated since high school. I don't know the rules anymore. Do people still go to movies? Is dinner too formal? Am I supposed to wait 3 days between texts? You've been texting me every day. Yeah, well, rules are overrated. I think we make our own rules, Nora said. We go slow. We're honest. We don't pretend to be anything we're not. I can do honest. Mark paused. Honest is that I'm a package deal. Lily comes first always, and she's already attached to you, which means if this, whatever this is, doesn't work out, she gets hurt. I need to know you understand that. The weight of responsibility settled over Nora, but it didn't feel heavy. It felt right. I understand, and I would never hurt her, or you. I believe you. And the simple certainty in his voice made Nora want to cry. They talked for 2 hours, coffee growing cold, conversation flowing easily from childhood memories to favorite books to the mundane details that built a life. Mark's mother's lasagna recipe, Nora's student who thought hamsters were baby rabbits, the way grief sneaked up at random moments, the small joys that made days bearable. "I have a confession," Mark said eventually, glancing at his watch. "I told my mom I'd be back by 2 to pick up Lily, but I don't want to leave." "So don't," Nora said impulsively. "Call your mom. Ask if she can keep Lily a little longer. We could, I don't know, walk around. It's nice out." Mark's face lit up. "Yeah? Yeah." He called his mother, who apparently answered with, "About time you asked for more time. I raised you better than to limit a good date to 2 hours." Loud enough for Nora to hear across the table. Mark's ears went red as he negotiated keeping Lily until dinner, then hung up with a sheepish look. "She likes you and hasn't even met you yet," he said. "This is either very good or very dangerous." "I'm going with good," Nora decided. They bundled into coats and scarves and stepped into the December afternoon. The snow had stopped, but the world was frosted white, the kind of postcard-perfect winter day that made you remember why people loved this season. They walked with no destination, shoulders bumping, breath-forming clouds, and Nora felt something settle in her chest, the sense that this was where she was supposed to be. "Tell me about your grandmother," Mark said as they crossed into a park where kids were sledding down a gentle hill. "You said she raised you." "After my parents died, yeah, I was 6. Car accident like Sarah." Nora watched a little girl in a pink coat squeal with delight as her sled picked up speed. "I don't remember much about my parents, honestly. Just fragments. My mom singing while she cooked, my dad's laugh. But Nana, she was solid, constant. She taught me that family is what you build, not just what you're born into." "Sounds like an incredible woman." "She was. She'd have liked you." Nora smiled. "She always said to look for the helpers, the people who show up when things are hard. You're a helper." "I'm just a guy trying not to screw up raising his kid." "You're doing more than that. You're teaching her kindness, empathy, the courage to talk to sad strangers in restaurants." Mark laughed. "That's less teaching, more complete failure to instill appropriate boundaries." They found a bench overlooking the sledding hill and sat, close enough that their thighs touched through their coats. Nora watched families playing in the snow, dads pulling kids on sleds, moms fixing scarves, toddlers making snow angels with more enthusiasm than technique. "Do you want kids?" Mark asked quietly. "I know that's a heavy question for a first date." "Second date," Nora corrected. "Christmas Eve was the first." "Fair point, but the question stands." Nora considered carefully. "I always thought I did. I work with kids, I love kids, but then Nana got sick and dating became this series of disasters, and somewhere along the way I started thinking maybe it wasn't in the cards for me. Maybe I was supposed to be the teacher, not the mom." "Those aren't mutually exclusive." "I know, but at 32, single with a string of failed relationships behind me." She trailed off. It started to feel like hoping for too much. Mark turned to face her fully. "Can I tell you what I see?" "Okay. I see someone who showed up alone to a Christmas dinner and still had the grace to say yes to strangers. Someone who works with kids because she genuinely cares, not because it's a job. Someone my daughter trusted on instinct, and Lily's instincts are never wrong." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the gesture so tender it made Nora's breath catch. "I see someone who deserves everything she's hoping for. And 32 isn't too late for anything." "You barely know me," Nora whispered. "I know enough, and I want to know more." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "Is that okay?" Instead of answering, Nora leaned forward and kissed him. It was soft, tentative, tasting of coffee and promise. Mark's hand cupped her face, and she felt him smile against her lips. When they pulled apart, both slightly breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. "That was," he started. "Yeah," Nora agreed. "Can I do it again?" "Please." The second kiss was deeper, more certain. Nora's hands found his collar and his arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer. Around them, the world faded. The children shrieking with laughter, the crunch of snow underfoot, the cold seeping through their coats, until there was only this: connection, warmth, the feeling of coming home to a place you'd never been. When they finally broke apart, a kid on a sled was watching them with undisguised fascination. "Gross," the kid announced to his friend. "They're kissing." Mark laughed, the sound bright and unguarded. "Sorry, kid. That's what happens when you get old." "I'm never getting old," the kid declared, and sledded away. Nora buried her face in Mark's shoulder, shaking with laughter. "I think we just traumatized that child." "He'll live." Mark pressed a kiss to her hair. "Lily's going to lose her mind when I tell her." "Are you going to tell her? Are you kidding? She's been asking about you every 5 minutes. This morning she asked if you were my girlfriend. I told her it was too soon for that label, and she informed me that if you're nice and I like you and you make me smile, that's what girlfriend means." Nora's heart squeezed. "She's not wrong." "No, she's not." Mark pulled back to look at her. "But I meant what I said earlier. We go slow. We figure this out. I don't want to rush into something and mess it up because I'm out of practice at relationships." "I'm pretty out of practice too," Nora admitted. "How about we be out of practice together?" "That sounds perfect." They stayed on that bench until the cold became unbearable, talking about everything and nothing, his work on a new house design, her plans for winter break classroom projects, the way Lily had announced she wanted to be a helper like Miss Nora when she grew up. The ease between them felt like something they'd built over years, not days. Eventually, Mark's phone rang. "That'll be my mom wondering if I've abandoned my child." He answered with, "Hi, Mom," and winced at whatever she said. "Yes, I know what time it is. We're on our way." He paused, listening, then glanced at Nora. "Actually, Mom wants to know if you'd like to come to dinner." Nora's eyes widened. "Tonight?" "You don't have to—" Mark started, but his mother's voice was loud enough to carry. "Tell that girl she's coming to dinner. I'm making lasagna and I want to meet the woman who's got my son smiling like a fool." "Your mom sounds delightful," Nora said wryly. Mark looked torn between embarrassment and hope. "She's a lot. And I know it's fast. We can say no." "I'd love to come," Nora interrupted. "If you're sure." The smile that broke across Mark's face was worth every ounce of nervousness flooding Nora's system. "I'm sure." They walked back to where they'd parked, hands linked, and Mark drove them to a modest house on a tree-lined street where Christmas lights still twinkled and a wreath hung on the door. Before they even reached the porch, the door flew open and Lily launched herself at Nora. "Miss Nora, you came! Daddy said maybe you'd come, and you did!" Lily wrapped her arms around Nora's waist. "Grandma's making lasagna, and I helped with the noodles, and also I drew you a picture of us at the restaurant, and Grandma says you can keep it forever." "I'd love to keep it forever," Nora said, hugging her back. A woman appeared in the doorway, small, sturdy, with gray hair cut short and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "So you're the one who's got my son acting like a teenager," she said, but her smile was warm. "I'm Patricia. Come in before you freeze." Inside, the house was chaos in the best way. Family photos covering every surface. A Christmas tree still shedding needles in the corner. The smell of garlic and tomatoes thick in the air. Mark's two brothers were there with their families, apparently summoned by Patricia with the promise of lasagna and meeting Mark's new friend. "Mom doesn't believe in subtle," Mark muttered to Nora as they shed their coats. "I like her already," Nora replied. Dinner was loud, overwhelming, and wonderful. Mark's brothers, Jake and Thomas, immediately launched into embarrassing childhood stories. Jake's wife, Melissa, asked Nora about teaching with genuine interest. Thomas's husband, David, argued good-naturedly with Patricia about whether garlic bread needed butter or olive oil. And through it all, Lily sat beside Nora at the table, chattering about her day with Grandma, occasionally reaching over to squeeze Nora's hand like she needed to confirm she was still there. "So," Patricia said eventually, fixing Nora with an assessing look. "Mark tells me you two met on Christmas Eve." "Lily introduced us," Nora said diplomatically. "Lily has excellent instincts." Patricia loaded more lasagna onto Nora's plate despite her protests. "Mark's been alone too long. We've all been worried." "Mom," Mark warned. "What? It's true. You're a young man. You deserve happiness. Sarah would want—" "Mom, please!" Patricia pressed her lips together, but her eyes were kind. "Fine, I'll be good." She turned to Nora. "You have family in the area?" No, ma'am. My grandmother passed a few years ago. It's just me. Something shifted in Patricia's expression. Understanding, sympathy, and a fierce protectiveness Nora hadn't expected. Well, now you have us. That's how it works in this family. You're here, you're ours. Nora's throat tightened. Thank you. After dinner, while the adults cleaned up and argued about dessert, Lily pulled Nora upstairs to show her the bedroom she stayed in when she visited Grandma. It was clearly decorated by someone who loved her. White furniture painted with flowers, shelves full of books and stuffed animals, a canopy bed draped with pink fabric. This is beautiful, Lily, Nora said. Grandma made it special for me. Lily climbed onto the bed, patting the space beside her. Miss Nora, can I ask you something? Of course. Nora sat down carefully. Do you like my daddy? Lily's blue eyes were impossibly serious. I do, Nora said honestly. Very much. He likes you too. I can tell because he smiles different now. Like when Mommy was here. Lily picked at the bedspread. I don't remember Mommy very much anymore. Just little pieces. Her voice singing songs, the way she smelled like flowers. Is it bad that I forget? Nora's heart broke. No, sweetie, it's not bad. You were very young when Mommy became an angel. It's okay to not remember everything. Daddy remembers everything. Sometimes I hear him talking to Mommy's picture late at night when he thinks I'm asleep. He tells her about his day and asks her questions and says he misses her. Lily looked up, eyes bright with tears. But I think maybe he's ready to not be so sad all the time, and I think maybe you could help with that. The weight of expectation, this child's hope that Nora could heal her father's wounds, was almost too much to bear. Lily, I can't replace your mommy. No one can. I don't want you to replace her, Lily said fiercely. Mommy's mommy, but maybe you could be someone new, someone who makes Daddy smile and comes to dinner and likes me? I already like you, Nora said, pulling her into a hug. So much. Then will you keep coming to dinners? And maybe other stuff too, please? I'll come to as many dinners as your daddy invites me to, Nora promised. Lily squeezed her tight. Good, because I have a feeling about you, Miss Nora. The same feeling I had at the restaurant. A good feeling. When they came back downstairs, Mark was standing at the bottom of the steps looking nervous. Everything okay? Everything's perfect, Lily announced. Miss Nora's coming to more dinners, and she likes me, and she thinks my room is beautiful. All true statements, Nora confirmed. Mark's relief was palpable. Good, great. Mom's threatening pie if anyone's interested. They ate pie, Patricia's famous apple crumb, apparently, while Jake and Thomas told more stories and Lily fell asleep against Nora's shoulder, worn out from excitement. The weight of her small body was precious, trust made tangible. She never does that with strangers, Patricia observed quietly. Not since Sarah died. She's very cautious about who she lets close. Nora's not a stranger anymore, Mark said softly, his eyes on his daughter. She's family. When it was time to leave, Patricia hugged Nora like she meant it. You come back any time, sweetheart. Door's always open. I will. Thank you for dinner. Mark carried sleeping Lily to the car while Nora said goodbye to his brothers. Then they were driving through quiet streets, Lily snoring softly in her booster seat, the radio playing low. I'm sorry if that was overwhelming, Mark said. My family is a lot. They're wonderful, Nora said honestly. Your mom is incredible. Your brothers are hilarious. And Lily, she glanced back at the sleeping child. She asked me to keep coming to dinners. Yeah? Mark's voice was carefully neutral. Yeah. And I said yes. His hand found hers across the center console, fingers lacing together. I'm glad. They pulled up outside Nora's apartment building too soon. Mark turned off the engine and they sat in the sudden silence, neither wanting the night to end. I had a really good day, Nora said finally. Me too. Mark lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. Can I see you again? Soon? Tomorrow? He laughed. I was trying to play it cool and not seem desperate, but yes, tomorrow. Definitely tomorrow. Maybe we could do something with Lily, if that's not weird? It's not weird. It's perfect. Mark's smile was brilliant, even in the dim streetlight. Zoo? She's been asking to see the penguins. I love penguins. Of course you do. Nora leaned across the console and kissed him, slow and sweet and full of promise. When she pulled back, Mark's eyes were dark with feeling. You're going to wreck me, he whispered. Good, Nora said. You can wreck me too. She floated up to her apartment, practically glowing, and immediately called Maya. Tell me everything, Maya demanded, and start with why you sound like you just won the lottery. I think I might be falling in love, Nora said, the words both terrifying and true. After 3 days? After 3 days, Nora confirmed, with a man and his incredible daughter and possibly his entire family. This is either the best thing ever or a spectacular disaster waiting to happen. I'm going with best thing ever, Nora decided. That night, lying in bed, Nora stared at the ceiling and thought about impossible things. Building a life with someone, being part of a family again, believing that maybe the universe really did arrange moments when people needed them. Her phone buzzed. Mark. Lily woke up long enough to ask if today was real or a dream. I told her it was real. Thank you for making it real. Nora. Thank you for inviting me into it. Today was the best day I've had in a long time. Mark. First of many? Nora. First of many. She fell asleep smiling. The pearls Nana had given her still around her neck. A picture Lily had drawn clutched in her hand. 3 stick figures holding hands under a bright sun. A family. Or maybe the beginning of one. 3 months later, Nora stood in Mark's apartment kitchen making pancakes while he wrestled with Lily's hair, and it felt like they'd been doing this forever. Daddy, you're pulling, Lily complained, squirming on the bar stool. I'm not pulling, I'm braiding. There's a difference. It feels like pulling. That's because your hair has opinions. Nora flipped a pancake, hiding her smile. Saturday mornings had become their routine. She'd arrive early with strawberries and orange juice. Mark would attempt increasingly complex hairstyles he'd learned from YouTube, and Lily would narrate their lives like a documentary filmmaker. 3 months of dinners and zoo trips and bedtime stories. 3 months of falling deeper into something that terrified and exhilarated her in equal measure. Miss Nora, tell Daddy he's bad at braids, Lily called over. I think your daddy's doing great, Nora said diplomatically, though the braid in question looked more like a twisted pretzel than anything Pinterest would approve. Mark shot her a grateful look. See? Miss Nora thinks I'm great. Miss Nora is being nice because she likes you. Lily twisted to look at her father. Are you guys boyfriend and girlfriend yet? Because Jenny at school says her mom has a boyfriend, and they kiss and hold hands, and you and Miss Nora do those things. Mark's ears went red. Lily, that's not... We've talked about this. But do you? Lily pressed. Because I think you should. Then Miss Nora could be here all the time and not just Saturdays and sometimes Wednesdays. Nora's heart did something complicated. They hadn't defined what they were doing, had been dancing around labels for weeks. They'd kissed, yes. Held hands, absolutely. Spent nearly every free moment together. But the word girlfriend felt simultaneously too small and too enormous for what was growing between them. How about we focus on breakfast? Nora suggested, rescuing them both. Pancakes are ready? With strawberries? Lily abandoned the hair conversation instantly. With strawberries. Best Saturday ever. They ate at the small kitchen table, syrup dripping, Lily's crooked braid already coming undone. Mark's apartment was modest. 2 bedrooms, scuffed hardwood floors, furniture that had seen better days, but it was home. Pictures covered the fridge, Lily's artwork taped to every wall, a basket of toys overflowing in the corner. And in the living room, on the mantel, a photo of Sarah smiled down at them, beautiful, blonde, frozen at 28. Nora had learned not to flinch when she saw it. Sarah was part of this family's story, woven into the fabric of who Mark and Lily were. Loving them meant making peace with that ghost. Daddy, can we go to the park after breakfast? Lily asked, mouth full of pancake. Don't talk with your mouth full, Mark said automatically. And yes, if Miss Nora wants to come. I always want to come, Nora said, and meant it. At the park, they pushed Lily on swings until her delighted shrieks drew attention from other parents. Mark caught Nora's hand as they walked to the slide, pulling her close. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For being here. For making Saturdays feel normal again. He gestured vaguely at Lily, who who was scaling the jungle gym with fearless determination. For caring about her. About us. I do care, Nora said. So much it scares me sometimes. Yeah? Mark's thumb traced circles on her palm. What scares you? That this is too good. That I'm going to wake up and realize it was all a dream. That you'll figure out I'm not actually what? Enough, Nora finished softly. That I'm the common denominator after all, and eventually you'll see what everyone else saw. Mark stopped walking, turning to face her fully. Nora, look at me. She did, though it hurt. You are enough, he said fiercely. More than enough. You show up for Lily like she's yours. You fit into my messy life without complaining that the apartment's too small or my schedule's complicated or I'm still figuring out how to be a single dad. You're patient and kind and you make my daughter laugh and you make me feel like maybe I'm allowed to be happy again. Mark, I'm falling in love with you, he interrupted. No, scratch that. I've fallen. Past tense. Done deal. And it's terrifying because I didn't think I'd ever feel this way about anyone after Sarah, but here you are, making pancakes in my kitchen and pushing my kid on swings and I'm so gone for you, it's not even funny. Nora's breath caught. Around them, the park continued. Kids playing, dogs barking, life happening, but she only saw him. This man who'd let her into his wounded heart, who trusted her with his daughter, who looked at her like she hung the moon. I love you too, she whispered. I've been trying not to say it because 3 months seem too fast, but I can't help it. I love you. And I love Lily. And I want this, us, so much. Mark kissed her then, deep and desperate, his hands cupping her face like she was precious. When they broke apart, both breathless, Lily was standing at the bottom of the slide, watching them with satisfaction. Finally, she announced to a confused toddler nearby. They were being so slow about it, Nora laughed, slightly hysterical. How long have you been watching? Long enough to know you guys love each other. Lily bounded over, inserting herself between them. Does this mean Miss Nora is my family now? Mark looked at Nora, the question clear in his eyes. This was it, the moment to commit or retreat, to step fully into their lives or step back before the stakes got higher. Nora knelt down to Lily's level. If you want me to be, then yes, I'm your family. Lily threw her arms around Nora's neck. I do want you to be. So much. Can I call you something besides Miss Nora? Because you're not just my teacher friend anymore. You're my family friend. Or maybe just Nora? Or whatever you're comfortable with, Nora said, hugging her tight. We'll figure it out together. Together, Lily repeated, testing the word. I like that. They stayed at the park until lunch, then walked to a diner that served grilled cheese cut into dinosaur shapes. Lily chattered about everything and nothing. Her friend Emma's new puppy, the book they were reading in class, whether clouds had feelings, normal, ordinary, beautiful. But as they walked back to the car, Mark's phone rang. His face went serious as he answered, stepping away for privacy. Nora watched him go tense, running a hand through his hair in the gesture she'd learned meant stress. Everything okay? She asked when he hung up. That was my boss. The Henderson project, the big house I've been designing. They moved up the deadline. Wants everything done by next Friday instead of the end of the month. Can you do that? If I work around the clock, maybe. Mark looked exhausted just thinking about it. But that means late nights, probably some weekends. And my mom's got that cruise planned, so she can't help with Lily as much. I can help, Nora said immediately. With Lily, I mean. School's out for spring break next week. I could watch her while you work. Mark hesitated. Nora, that's asking a lot. You have your own life. My life is right here, she interrupted. With you guys. Let me help, please. He studied her face, searching for doubt, but Nora kept her expression open and certain. Finally, he nodded. Okay, thank you. Seriously, I don't know what I'd do without you. Good thing you don't have to find out. The next week tested them all. Mark left before dawn and came home after dark, surviving on coffee and stress. Nora moved into their routine seamlessly, picking Lily up from aftercare, making dinner, helping with homework, putting her to bed when Mark was too buried in blueprints to surface. It should have felt like playing house, like trying on a role that didn't quite fit. Instead, it felt like coming home. Is Daddy going to work forever? Lily asked Thursday night as Nora tucked her in. Just until Friday. Then the project will be done and he'll have more time. I miss him. Lily's voice was small. Even when he's here, he's thinking about work. I can tell. I know, sweetie, he misses you too, but sometimes grown-ups have to work really hard for a little while so they can take care of their families. Is that what you're doing? Taking care of us? The question caught Nora off guard. I guess I am. Good. Lily snuggled deeper into her blankets. Because we need taking care of, especially Daddy. He forgets to eat lunch when he's stressed. I've noticed, Nora said wryly. She'd started packing extra food in Mark's work bag, finding it untouched at the end of each day. Nora? Lily's eyes were already drooping. I'm glad you're here. It's like having a mom again. Not the same as Mommy, but close. Nora's throat tightened. I'm glad I'm here too. She stayed until Lily fell asleep, then found Mark hunched over the dining table, surrounded by sketches and drafts. He looked haggard, dark circles under his eyes, 2 days of stubble shadowing his jaw. You need to eat, Nora said, setting a plate of reheated dinner beside him. I will. Just need to finish this section. Mark. She gently closed his laptop. You need to eat and sleep. The project will still be there tomorrow. He slumped back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. I hate this. I hate that I'm missing bedtime, that I barely see Lily, that you're doing everything while I hide and work. You're not hiding. You're providing for your daughter. There's a difference. Is there? He looked up at her, vulnerable and exhausted. Because from here it feels like I'm failing at everything except this damn house design. Nora pulled a chair close, taking his hands. You're not failing. You're doing your best in an impossible situation, and Lily understands. She's proud of you. She told you that? She didn't have to. I can see it. Nora squeezed his hands. But she also misses you, and I miss you. So eat your dinner, then come to bed. Not to sleep with me, she added quickly, seeing his expression, but because you need actual rest and that couch is murder on your back. Nora, I can't ask you to... You're not asking. I'm offering. She stood, pulling him to his feet. Come on. Doctor's orders. You're not a doctor. Kindergarten teachers have medical authority in situations involving exhaustion and stubbornness. It's in the handbook. Despite everything, Mark laughed. What did I do to deserve you? You let a strange woman have dinner with you because your daughter has good instincts. Nora led him to the bedroom, pushed him to sit on the bed. Now eat while I grab you something comfortable to sleep in. She found sweatpants in his dresser, tried not to feel invasive going through his things. This was intimacy of a different kind. Learning where he kept his socks, which drawer held his t-shirts, how he organized his life. When she turned back, Mark was eating mechanically, his eyes distant. Where are you? She asked softly. Thinking about Sarah. He set down his fork. She was good at this, at keeping me grounded when work got crazy. She'd literally unplug my computer and drag me to bed. I always pretended to be annoyed, but secretly I loved it. Loved that she cared enough to force me to take care of myself. Nora sat beside him, close but not crowding. I'm not trying to replace her. I know. That's what makes this easier, I think. You're not trying to be Sarah. You're just being Nora, and that's exactly who we need. He finished eating, changed into the sweatpants, and collapsed onto the bed with a groan. Nora pulled a blanket over him, started to leave, but he caught her wrist. Stay? He asked. Just until I fall asleep? I sleep better when you're here. So she did, lying on top of the blankets beside him, their fingers laced together. Mark was asleep in minutes, his breathing evening out, tension finally leaving his face. Nora watched him in the dim light filtering through the curtains and let herself imagine this was her life. This man, this child, this tiny apartment with its scuffed floors and overflowing love. She must have dozed off because she woke to gray pre-dawn light and Mark's phone alarm blaring. He groaned, reaching blindly to silence it. Morning, Nora mumbled. You stayed all night. He rolled to face her, eyes still heavy with sleep. Fell asleep by accident. Best accident ever. He kissed her forehead. Thank you for everything this week. I know it's been... Stop thanking me, Nora interrupted. This is what people do when they love each other. They show up. Yeah, well, I'm still grateful. He checked his phone, winced. I need to be at the office in an hour. Final push to get everything submitted. Go shower. I'll make coffee and get Lily up for school. The day passed in a blur of routine. Nora took Lily to school, went back to clean Mark's apartment because she couldn't stand the mess, made a casserole for dinner, picked Lily up, supervised homework. It was domestic and ordinary and everything she'd ever wanted. They were making cookies when Mark burst through the door at 6, earlier than he'd been all week. We did it! He swept Lily up, spinning her around. Project submitted. Boss is happy. I'm officially done until Monday. Daddy! Lily shrieked with delight. You're home early. I'm home, baby girl, and I'm all yours this weekend. No work, no stress, just us. He set her down and pulled Nora into a kiss that was more relief than passion. And you, God, you, I love you. Love you too, Nora said, laughing against his mouth. Even when you're a stressed-out disaster. Especially when I'm a stressed-out disaster, he corrected. Now what smells amazing? Cookies! We're making chocolate chip! Lily dragged him to the kitchen to show off their work. They ate cookies for dinner because Mark declared they deserved to break rules, then watched Lily's choice of movie, something animated involving singing animals. Lily fell asleep halfway through, curled between them on the couch, and Mark carried her to bed without waking her. When he came back, he pulled Nora close, both of them stretched out on the couch in the flickering TV light. I've been thinking, Mark said quietly. Dangerous. He smiled. I'm serious. This week, watching you with Lily, coming home to find you here, feeling like we're a team, it made me realize something. Nora's heart started pounding. What? I want this to be permanent, not just weekends and some weeknights. I want you here, all the time, as part of our lives. He shifted to look at her. I know it's fast. I know we've only been together 3 months. But when it's right, it's right. And you're right, Nora. For me, for Lily, for us. Mark, are you asking me to, move in with us? He said it like a declaration and a question at once. I know this apartment is small and my hours are weird and Lily comes as a package deal. But we could make it work. We could be a family, officially. Nora's mind raced. 3 months. They'd known each other for 3 months. It was reckless and fast and probably insane, but it also felt inevitable, like they'd been heading toward this moment since Lily walked over to her table on Christmas Eve. I need to think about it, she heard herself say. Mark's face fell, just slightly, before he recovered. Of course. Take all the time you need. No pressure. But there was pressure. The weight of Lily's hope, Mark's vulnerability, her own desperate want for this to work. Nora sat up, running her hands through her hair. It's not that I don't want to, she said. I do, so much. But Mark, what if we're moving too fast? What if we mess this up and Lily gets hurt? She's already attached to me. If we live together and it doesn't work. Why are you so convinced it won't work? Mark asked gently. Because nothing else has. The words burst out before she could stop them. Every relationship I've had has ended with someone walking away. What makes this different? Me, you, us. Mark took her hands. I'm not them, Nora. I'm not going to wake up one day and decide you're too much or not enough. I've been through hell and back. I know what loss feels like. And I know that what we have is worth fighting for. But what about Sarah? Nora whispered the question that had been haunting her. What if you're not really ready? What if I'm just a placeholder until you heal? Mark was quiet for a long moment. Can I show you something? He stood, pulling her to the mantel where Sarah's picture smiled down at them. This close, Nora could see details she'd missed. Sarah's laugh lines, the way her eyes crinkled, the joy radiating from the photograph. This was taken at Lily's second birthday party, Mark said. A month before the accident. Sarah was happy that day. We were happy. Everything was perfect. His voice cracked slightly. For a long time after she died, I couldn't look at this picture. It hurt too much, knowing everything we'd lost. But Lily needed to remember her mom, so I kept it here. Nora waited, giving him space. I'm never going to stop loving Sarah, Mark continued. She was my first love, Lily's mother, a huge part of who I am. But loving her doesn't mean I can't love you. The heart doesn't work like that. It doesn't have a quota or a limit. He turned to face Nora. You're not a placeholder. You're not a consolation prize. You're the woman I fell in love with, completely separate from what I had with Sarah. You're your own person, bringing your own light into our lives. I'm scared, Nora admitted. Me too. Terrified, actually. Mark pulled her close. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you. They stood there, wrapped in each other, while the movie played forgotten in the background. Finally, Nora pulled back. I need to talk to Maya, she said, and maybe sleep on it? Not because I don't know what I want, but because this is huge and I want to be sure I'm thinking clearly. Take all the time you need, Mark said, though his eyes were anxious. Just don't disappear on me, okay? Whatever you decide, we talk about it. I promise. Nora left an hour later, her head spinning. At home, she called Maya, who answered with, It's 10 p.m. This better be good. Mark asked me to move in with him. Maya was silent for 3 seconds. And you said that I needed to think about it. Okay, let's think. Pro, you love him, you love his kid, you're there half the time anyway. Con, 3 months is fast and you have a history of picking men who leave. That's not helpful, Maya. I'm not trying to be helpful, I'm trying to be honest. Maya's voice softened. But here's the thing. I've known you for 10 years. I've seen you date disappointing men who didn't deserve you. And Mark is nothing like them. He's solid, Nora. He shows up. His kid adores you. His family embraced you immediately. This is what you've always wanted. So why am I terrified? Because you've been hurt before. Because your parents died and left you. Because Nana died and left you. Because every person you've loved has left you one way or another, and you're scared Mark will too. Nora pressed her hand to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. But sweetie, Maya continued gently, you can't let fear run your life forever. At some point you have to believe you deserve good things. And Mark is a very good thing. They talked for another hour, Maya asking questions that forced Nora to be honest about what she wanted. By the time they hung up, Nora knew what she needed to do. She texted Mark, Can we talk tomorrow? After you drop Lily at school? His response came immediately. Yes. Are you okay? I'm okay. Just need to see you. Okay. I love you. Love you too. Nora barely slept, her mind playing out scenarios. Moving in and being happy, moving in and it falling apart, not moving in and regretting it forever. By morning she was exhausted but clear-headed. Mark showed up at her apartment at 9, looking as wrung out as she felt. I've been up all night, he said, convinced you were going to say no. Can I show you something first? Nora led him to her bedroom, to the pictures on her dresser. This is Nana at my college graduation. This is my parents. I don't remember them, but Nana said I have my mom's smile. And this, she picked up a small frame, is from Christmas Eve. Patricia took it, the 3 of us at dinner. In the photo, Lily was between them, grinning at the camera. Mark and Nora were looking at each other, their expressions soft with something that looked a lot like love. I've been so scared of losing people that I forgot how to let them in, Nora said. But you and Lily, you didn't give me a choice. You just walked into my life and made yourselves at home in my heart. And yes, it's fast. And yes, I'm terrified. But I'm more terrified of letting fear make me lose this. Mark's eyes were bright with hope. So that's a yes? That's a yes. I want to move in. I want to be part of your family. I want Saturday morning pancakes and bedtime stories and terrible braiding attempts. I want all of it. Mark kissed her like she was air and he'd been drowning. When they broke apart, both laughing and crying, he said, Lily's going to lose her mind. Good. I love when she loses her mind. They picked Lily up from school together, both of them vibrating with excitement. Lily took one look at their faces and demanded, What happened? Nora has something to tell you, Mark said. Nora knelt down to Lily's level. How would you feel if I moved in with you and your daddy? If I was there every morning for pancakes and every night for bedtime stories? Lily's eyes went wide. Forever? Forever? The squeal that erupted from Lily could probably be heard in the next county. She launched herself at Nora, nearly knocking her over, wrapping her arms and legs around her like a koala. Yes, 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 yes. This is the best day of my whole life, even better than my birthday, even better than when we went to Disney. Can we tell Grandma
And Uncle Jake? And Emma at school? Can Nora have the desk in your room, Daddy? Can we paint her name on the mailbox? Slow down, baby, Mark laughed. We'll tell everyone. But right now, how about we go celebrate? Ice cream? Ice cream, Lily cheered. At the ice cream shop, Lily insisted on calling Patricia immediately. Grandma, guess what? Nora's moving in and we're going to be a real family and it's perfect. Patricia's delighted response was loud enough for the whole shop to hear. That night, after Lily was finally asleep from excitement, Mark and Nora lay in his bed, their bed now, and talked about logistics.
When she'd move her stuff, how they'd rearrange the apartment, what it would look like, this life they were building. I know it's not perfect, Mark said. The apartment's small, money's tight sometimes. Lily's going to test boundaries. It's perfect to me, Nora interrupted. Perfect doesn't mean easy. It means right. And this is right, Mark. Us. This family we're building. He kissed her temple. Thank you for saying yes, for taking a chance on us. Thank you for asking, for seeing me as someone worth taking a chance on. They fell asleep tangled together, and when Nora woke in the morning to Lily jumping on the bed yelling, Nora's here forever, forever, ever, she couldn't stop smiling. This was her life now. These were her people. And for the first time in years, Nora wasn't afraid of losing them. She was just grateful they were hers. Moving day arrived on a Saturday morning in April, when the world smelled like rain and new beginnings. Nora stood in her apartment, the one she'd shared with Nana's memory for 3 years, and felt the weight of what she was leaving behind. The couch where Nana had taught her to knit. The kitchen where they'd made Sunday dinners. The bedroom where Nora had cried herself to sleep after the funeral, certain she'd never feel whole again. You okay? Maya appeared in the doorway, car keys in hand. Because you've been staring at that wall for 5 minutes and it's getting weird. I'm saying goodbye, Nora said softly. Maya's expression gentled. To Nana? To the person I was when I lived here. The lonely one who thought she'd always be alone. Nora touched the wall, feeling foolish but needing the gesture. I was so sad here, Maya, for so long, and now I'm leaving to be happy somewhere else, and it feels like betrayal. It's not betrayal, it's growth. Maya crossed the room, pulling Nora into a hug. Nana would be so proud of you. You know that, right? She'd love Mark and Lily. She'd be thrilled you're building a family. I wish she could meet them. Maybe she already has. Universe moments, remember? Maybe she arranged the whole thing. Nora laughed wetly. That's very Lily of you. That kid's rubbing off on me. Speaking of which, we should get moving before she actually explodes from anticipation. She's texted me 4 times asking when you're arriving. The drive to Mark's apartment took 20 minutes, but felt like crossing into a different life. Maya's car was packed with Nora's essentials, clothes, books, the photos from her dresser, Nana's recipe box. The furniture would stay with the apartment. Mark's place was too small for redundancy, and Nora didn't need physical things to remember where she'd been. She needed to make space for where she was going. When they pulled up, Lily was waiting on the front steps, practically vibrating. The moment Nora stepped out of the car, Lily launched herself forward. You're here! You're really here! I helped Daddy clean, and we made space in the closet, and I picked flowers from Grandma's garden to make your new room pretty. The words tumbled out without pause for breath. Slow down before you pass out, Mark said, emerging from the building. He looked at Nora and smiled, that slow, warm smile that still made her heart skip. Welcome home. Home. The word settled into Nora's chest like it belonged there. The next few hours were chaos. Maya and Mark hauled boxes while Lily supervised by offering constant commentary. Jake and Thomas showed up unannounced with pizza and beer, claiming they were just being helpful, but really wanting to witness this milestone. Patricia arrived with a casserole and the aforementioned garden flowers, immediately reorganizing Nora's kitchen items properly. Mom, she literally just moved in, Mark protested as Patricia rearranged the spice rack, and now she won't spend 3 weeks looking for the oregano. Patricia patted his cheek. You're welcome. By evening, most of Nora's belongings had found homes in the small apartment. Her clothes hung beside Mark's in the closet, their shoes jumbled together by the door. Her books filled the empty shelf beside his architecture volumes. Her toothbrush sat in the holder next to his, domestic and intimate in a way that made her blush. This is surreal, Nora said,
watching Mark attempt to fit her coffee mugs into an already packed cabinet. Good surreal or bad surreal? Good. Definitely good. She took a mug from his hand, setting it aside. But also overwhelming. Everything's changing so fast. Mark pulled her close, resting his chin on her head. We can slow down if you need to. Set whatever pace feels right. No, I don't want to slow down. I just want to... Nora paused, searching for words. I want to make sure we're doing this right. For Lily, especially. She's so excited, but what if the reality doesn't match her expectations? What if I disappoint her? You couldn't disappoint her if you tried. She worships you. Now, yes, but what about when I'm here every day and the novelty wears off? What about when I have to be the bad guy and enforce bedtime or make her eat vegetables? Then you'll be her parent, Mark said simply, because that's what this is, Nora. You're not just my girlfriend living here. You're stepping into a parental role with Lily, and that comes with all the messy, complicated, sometimes frustrating parts, not just the fun stuff. The weight of it hit Nora fully. She wasn't just moving in with her boyfriend. She was becoming a parent to a 6-year-old who'd already lost one mother. The responsibility was staggering. What if I mess it up? She whispered. Then we'll fix it together. Mark tilted her face up to meet his eyes. You're not alone in this, remember? We're a team, and Lily already loves you. You've earned that, not by being perfect, but by showing up consistently and caring about her. That's not going to change because you live here now. Promise? Promise. Lily burst into the room before Nora could respond, Mr. Floppybottom clutched in one hand. Can we do bedtime story together, all three of us, as our first night being a real family? Mark glanced at Nora, checking. She nodded, swallowing past the emotion in her throat. Absolutely, Mark said. Go pick a book while we finish up here. Lily raced off, and Maya appeared in her wake, purse over her shoulder. I'm heading out. You guys need anything before I go? We're good. Thank you for everything today. Maya hugged Nora tight. You're doing the right thing, she whispered. I'm proud of you. After everyone left, the apartment felt simultaneously too full and just right. Boxes still needed unpacking, her things looked foreign mixed with Mark's, and the reality of cohabitation loomed large. But when they gathered in Lily's room for bedtime, Mark on one side of her bed, Nora on the other, reading about brave princesses and dragons, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Best day ever, Lily murmured as her eyes drooped. Even better than Christmas. Even better than Christmas, Mark teased. That's pretty high praise. It's true, because now every day gets to be like this. Lily reached for both their hands. Together. After she fell asleep, Mark and Nora stood in the doorway watching her breathe, peaceful and secure. Thank you, Mark said quietly. You keep thanking me. Stop it. I'll stop when it stops being true. He laced his fingers through hers. Come on, let's go to bed. Tomorrow we can stress about unpacking. Their first night sharing a bed as official cohabitants was less romantic than Nora had imagined. They were both exhausted. Mark snored, and Nora woke at 3 a.m. disoriented about where she was. But when she remembered, Mark's arm around her waist, his apartment now theirs, Lily sleeping down the hall, she smiled into the darkness and let herself believe this was real. The next few weeks were an adjustment. Nora learned Mark was terrible at closing cabinets and left wet towels on the bathroom floor. Mark discovered Nora needed 20 minutes of silence with coffee before she could human in the mornings. They negotiated space in a too-small apartment, figured out grocery shopping as a unit, and established routines that worked for all three of them. But it was Lily who struggled most. 2 weeks after Nora moved in, Lily had her first meltdown. It started small. Nora asked her to pick up her toys before dinner, a reasonable request. But Lily's face crumpled and she shouted, "You're not my mom! You can't tell me what to do!" The words landed like a slap. Nora stood frozen in the living room, toys scattered around her feet, while Lily ran to her bedroom and slammed the door. Mark emerged from his home office, drawn by the commotion. What happened? I asked her to clean up and she... Nora's voice cracked. She said I'm not her mom. Mark's expression was pained. Nora, it's fine. She's right. I'm not her mom. Nora grabbed her keys, needing air, needing space. I'm going for a walk. She was out the door before Mark could stop her.
Outside, spring evening cool on her face, Nora walked with no destination. Lily's words echoed in her head, confirming every fear she'd had about moving too fast, stepping into a role she hadn't earned. She'd been playing house, pretending she could just slot into their lives without complication. But Lily had a mother. Sarah was gone, but not forgotten. Her picture still on the mantle, her memory woven through this family. Who was Nora to think she could replace that? Her phone buzzed. Mark, please come back. We need to talk about this. Nora, I need some time. Mark, take all the time you need. But please come back tonight. Don't leave like this. She found herself at the park where they'd taken Lily that first Saturday, the swings empty in the fading light. Nora sat on one, pushing herself gently, trying to organize her thoughts. She'd known this would be hard. She'd known there would be challenges, but knowing intellectually was different from feeling the sharp edge of rejection from a 6-year-old she loved like her own. Thought I might find you here. Nora looked up to find Patricia settling onto the swing beside her. Mark called you, Nora said flatly. He's worried. So am I. Patricia started swinging gently. Want to tell me what happened? Lily said, I'm not her mom, which is true. I'm not. But it still hurt. Of course it hurt. You loved that little girl. I thought I could do this. Nora's voice broke. Be what they need. But maybe I'm kidding myself. Maybe I'm just the woman who happened to be there when they needed someone, and now reality's setting in. Patricia was quiet for a moment, the creak of the swings the only sound. Can I tell you about the first time I met Sarah? Nora looked over, surprised. Mark brought her home for dinner when they were 17, sweet girl, beautiful, completely head over heels for my boy, and I hated her. What? Not her specifically. I hated that she was taking Mark's attention, that he was growing up and away from me. I'd already lost my husband, and here was my oldest son falling in love, and I knew it meant losing him too, in a way. Patricia smiled sadly. I was terrible to her, not openly mean, but cold, distant. It took me 2 years to realize I was being an idiot. What changed? Sarah did. She kept showing up at family dinners, holidays, Sunday brunches. Never pushed, never demanded anything, just consistently was there. Eventually I realized she wasn't taking Mark from me. She was adding to our family, making it bigger, stronger. Patricia stopped swinging to look at Nora directly. That's what you're doing too, not replacing Sarah, adding to what she started. And that's hard for a little girl to understand, especially when she's testing boundaries to see if you'll stay. You think that's what she's doing? Testing me? I think she's terrified you'll leave like her mother did. So she's pushing to see if you'll push back or disappear. It's not about you not being her mom. It's about her being scared you won't stay to become one. The insight made Nora's chest ache. So what do I do? Go home, talk to her. Show her you don't run when things get hard. Patricia stood, offering her hand. And remember, parenting is mostly showing up and figuring it out as you go. Nobody has all the answers. When Nora returned to the apartment, she found Mark sitting on the couch looking wrung out. He stood the moment she walked in. I'm sorry, they said simultaneously. You have nothing to be sorry for, Mark said. Lily was out of line. She's 6 and scared. I get it. Nora set down her keys. Is she still awake? Barely. She cried herself sick and has been asking for you for an hour. Nora's heart cracked. I shouldn't have left. You needed space. That's allowed. Mark cupped her face. But I'm glad you came back. I'm always going to come back, Nora said fiercely. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. She found Lily curled in bed, face blotchy from crying. Mr. Floppy Bottom clutched tight. The moment Lily saw her, fresh tears spilled over. I'm sorry, Lily sobbed. I'm sorry I was mean. I didn't mean it. Please don't leave. Nora sat on the bed, pulling Lily into her lap. I'm not leaving, baby. I'm right here. But I was bad. I said you're not my mommy. You were upset. People say things they don't mean when they're upset. Nora stroked Lily's hair. Can I tell you something? Lily nodded against her chest. You're right. I'm not your mommy. Your mommy is watching you from heaven and she loves you so much. I could never replace her, and I don't want to. Nora felt Lily tense but continued gently. But I love you too, Lily. Different from how your mommy loved you, but just as real. And I was hoping maybe I could be something new, not a replacement, just someone else who loves you and takes care of you and is part of your family. Like a bonus mom? Lily's voice was small. Yeah, like a bonus mom. Nora's eyes stung. Would that be okay with you? Lily pulled back to look at her, face serious. Do bonus moms stay forever? Or do they leave too? The question was a knife to the heart. I'm going to stay forever, I promise. Mommy promised forever too, but she had to leave. That wasn't her choice, sweetheart. Your mommy would have stayed if she could. The accident wasn't her fault. Nora chose her words carefully. I can't promise nothing bad will ever happen, but I can promise I will always do everything in my power to stay with you and your daddy. You're my family now, and families don't give up on each other. Lily studied her face, weighing the promise, looking for cracks. Finally, she nodded. Okay, you can be my bonus mom, but you have to do bonus mom things. Like what? Like coming to my school concert next week, and helping me learn to tie my shoes and making pancakes on Saturdays, and telling me I'm pretty even when my hair is messy. Lily's list kept growing. And loving Daddy, and staying even when I'm mean, and her voice broke. And not forgetting my real mommy. Can you do that? I can do all of that, Nora promised, especially the part about not forgetting. Your mommy was special and important, and we'll always remember her. Good. Lily burrowed back into Nora's arms. I love you, bonus mom. Nora's tears finally spilled over. I love you too, baby girl. She stayed until Lily fell asleep, then found Mark waiting in the hallway, his own eyes suspiciously bright. Bonus mom? He said softly. It was her idea, but I like it. Nora leaned into him. That was terrifying. You were perfect. The way you talked about Sarah made space for her memory while also making space for yourself. Mark shook his head in wonder. You're going to be an amazing mother to her. I'm going to mess up a lot. Yeah, so will I. We'll mess up together and figure it out as we go. The next few weeks were smoother. Lily tested boundaries occasionally, all kids did, but there was a new ease between them. She started calling Nora bonus mom at home, which made Mark smile every time. At school events, she introduced Nora as my bonus mom who makes the best pancakes. Other parents looked confused, but Lily didn't care. The school concert arrived on a Thursday evening. Nora sat between Mark and Patricia in the cramped auditorium, watching first graders in crooked costumes sing off-key. When Lily took the stage in her construction paper flower crown, she scanned the audience until she found them. Her face broke into the biggest smile, and she waved enthusiastically, nearly knocking over the kid beside her. That's my bonus mom, she stage whispered to her friend, pointing at Nora. Mark grabbed Nora's hand, squeezing hard. After the concert, Lily ran to them, crown askew. Did you see me? Did you see my solo part? You were magnificent, Nora said, crouching down. The best flower in the whole garden. I sang loud like you told me to. I heard. The whole school heard. Lily giggled, then looked between Nora and Mark seriously. Can I ask you something? Always, Mark said. Emma's parents are married. She says that's what makes them a real family. Are we going to get married so we're a real family too? The question hung in the air, innocent and loaded. Mark's eyes met Nora's over Lily's head, something passing between them. Families come in all shapes, Mark said carefully. Marriage doesn't make you a family. Love does. And we love each other, so we're already a real family. But do you want to get married? Lily pressed. Because I think you should. Then bonus mom would be here forever and ever, official, and everything. Lily, that's between me and Nora, Mark said gently. It's grown-up stuff. Grown-ups are slow about everything important, Lily complained, but she let it drop, distracted by Emma calling her over. That night, after Lily was asleep, Mark found Nora on the balcony staring at the city lights. Sorry about earlier, he said. She's 6. She doesn't understand. Do you want to get married? Nora interrupted, turning to face him. Not now, necessarily, but eventually. Is that where this is going? Mark was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, yes. I can see it. You in a white dress, Lily as flower girl, building a life together officially. But we've only been together 7 months. I don't want to rush you." 7 months, Nora repeated. "That's not very long." "No, it's not. But it also feels like forever. Like I've known you and Lily my whole life." "Yeah," Mark agreed softly. "It does." They stood in the spring night, the question of marriage hanging between them unresolved but acknowledged. They weren't ready yet. There was too much still to navigate, too many adjustments still being made. But the possibility was there, glimmering like the city lights, something to move toward when the time was right. "Can I tell you something?" Nora said. "When I was driving here for that blind date on Christmas Eve, I was so sure I'd never have this. A family, someone who loved me, kids calling me mom in any variation. I'd accepted being alone." "You're not alone anymore?" "I know. And it's the most terrifying, wonderful thing that's ever happened to me." She turned to him. "I don't need a ring or a wedding to know this is forever, Mark. I already know. Maybe we tell Lily that when she asks again, that we're forever, with or without a wedding." "But you do want to get married, eventually?" "Eventually, yes. When we're ready, when it feels right." Nora smiled. "I'm not going anywhere. We can take our time." Mark pulled her close, kissing her with the kind of tenderness that promised everything without words. When they went back inside, the apartment was quiet, Lily sleeping peacefully down the hall. They got ready for bed with the comfortable intimacy of people who'd learned each other's rhythms, who knew which side of the bed to take and how much space to leave. As Nora drifted off, Mark's arm around her waist, she thought about how far she'd come from that restaurant table on Christmas Eve, from alone and rejected to this. A man who loved her, a child who called her bonus mom, a family she'd found in the most unexpected way. Patricia was right. Sarah hadn't been replaced. She was still present in the photos, in Lily's memories, in the foundation she'd helped build. But there was space now for something new, too. Space for Nora to add her own love to this family, to help raise this incredible child, to build a future with a man who saw her and chose her every single day. "You still awake?" Mark murmured. "Barely. I love you. I love you too. Thank you for staying, after the fight with Lily, after everything. Thank you for not running." "Where would I run to?" Nora snuggled closer. "This is home." And it was. Despite the small apartment, the complicated emotions, the challenges of blending a family, despite the ghosts and the fears and the uncertainty of building something new on the foundation of loss, this was home. These two people who'd let her in, who made space for her at their table, who taught her that family wasn't about blood or obligation, but about showing up and choosing each other every day. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, 3 people slept under one roof, a man learning to love again, a child learning to trust, and a woman learning she was exactly enough, just as she was, exactly where she belonged. 6 months later, on a warm October evening when the leaves were turning gold and the air smelled like cinnamon, Mark came home with a secret. Nora knew immediately something was different. He had that look, the one he got when he was planning something and trying to act casual about it. She'd learned to read his tells over the past year, the way his left eyebrow twitched when he was excited, how he couldn't quite meet her eyes when he was hiding something good. "What did you do?" she asked from the kitchen, where she was helping Lily with math homework. "Nothing. Why would you think I did something?" Mark set down his briefcase, kissing first Lily's head, then Nora's lips. "Because you look like you're going to burst." Lily squinted at him. "Daddy, are you keeping a secret?" "Maybe." "Is it a good secret or a bad secret?" "The best secret." Mark couldn't contain his grin. "But you both have to wait until Saturday to find out." Lily groaned dramatically. "That's 3 whole days. I'll die of curiosity." "You'll survive," Mark said, ruffling her hair. "Now finish your homework so we can have dinner." The next 3 days were torture. Mark refused to give hints no matter how much they begged. On Friday night, he told them to dress nicely for Saturday. Nice, but comfortable, whatever that meant. Nora tried to guess their destination, while Mark maintained an infuriating poker face. "Zoo?" she ventured. "Nope." "Museum?" "Wrong again." "Are we leaving the city?" "That would be telling." Mark kissed her frustrated frown. "Patience, love. Good things come to those who wait. Saturday morning arrived clear and bright. They loaded into Mark's SUV, Lily bouncing in her booster seat with barely contained excitement. Mark drove them out of the city, past suburbs and strip malls, into countryside, where houses sat on actual land instead of squeezed between buildings. "Where are we going?" Lily asked for the 100th time. "You'll see." Mark turned down a tree-lined street, slowing as they approached a house set back from the road. It was beautiful, 2 stories painted soft gray with white trim, a wraparound porch, and a yard that seemed impossibly huge compared to their apartment building. A for sale sign stood in the front lawn, and Mark pulled into the driveway, cutting the engine. "We're looking at a house?" Nora asked, her heart starting to pound. "Not just any house." Mark's eyes were bright with hope and nervousness. "Remember that Henderson project I nearly killed myself finishing? They were so impressed they recommended me to 3 other clients. I've been saving every extra dollar for 6 months, and I hope, we can afford this." Nora stared at the house, unable to process what he was saying. "Mark, we can't. Can we go inside?" Lily pressed her face to the window. "Please, please, please." A realtor emerged from the house, a woman in her 50s with a warm smile. Mark had clearly arranged this showing in advance. They climbed out of the car and the realtor, Susan, shook hands with them all. "You must be the Ellison family," she said. "Mark's told me so much about you. Shall we take a look?" The inside was even more beautiful than the outside. Hardwood floors that needed refinishing but had good bones. A kitchen with actual counter space and a window over the sink. A living room with a fireplace. 3 bedrooms upstairs, one for them, one for Lily, and one that could be a guest room or office. The master bedroom had an ensuite bathroom and a window seat where you could watch the sunrise. Lily raced from room to room, her voice echoing through the empty spaces. "This could be my room, and this could be for guests. And look, there's a backyard, Daddy. There's a whole backyard." Nora stood in the master bedroom, hand pressed to her mouth, trying not to cry. Mark came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What do you think?" he asked quietly. "I think this is insane. We've been living together less than a year. This is a huge commitment." "I know, but Nora, we're already committed. We're raising a child together. We're building a life together. Why not do it in a place where Lily can have a yard to play in, and you can have a kitchen that fits more than 2 people? Can we even afford this?" "Barely. It would be tight. We'd have to budget carefully, but the mortgage would actually be less than our rent, and I've got that new project starting next month." Mark turned her to face him. "I know I should have talked to you before arranging this showing. I'm sorry. I just wanted to surprise you. If you hate it, we'll keep looking, or we'll stay in the apartment, whatever you want." Nora looked around the bedroom, the space, the light, the possibility. She imagined their bed against that wall, her books on those shelves, waking up here every morning next to Mark, while Lily slept safely down the hall. "I don't hate it," she whispered. "I love it. But Mark, this is huge. What if we can't make the payments? What if something goes wrong? Then we'll figure it out together, like we figure out everything else." He cupped her face. "I want to build you that house I promised Lily. I want to give our family a real home. Will you let me?" "Our family," Nora repeated, the words settling warm in her chest. "You really see us that way? Not just you and Lily, but all 3 of us? Have I not made that clear?" Mark looked genuinely confused. "Nora, you're not a guest in our lives. You're not temporary. You're my partner, Lily's bonus mom, my future. I want forever with you, in a house we choose together, building a life that's ours." Lily's voice rang out from downstairs. "Bonus mom, come see the backyard. There's a tire swing." Nora laughed through her tears. "A tire swing?" "Apparently tire swings are very important." Mark kissed her forehead. "So, should we tell Susan we're interested?" "We should tell Susan we're very interested." His smile was brilliant. "Yeah?" "Yeah." They spent another hour exploring, Lily narrating what would go where. The backyard did indeed have a tire swing hanging from an old oak tree. There was a shed that could be converted to Mark's home office. The neighborhood was quiet, safe, with kids riding bikes on the street and families walking dogs. On the drive home,
Lily chattered nonstop about decorating her new room while Nora and Mark held hands across the center console, both slightly dazed by the magnitude of what they were considering. "Are we really doing this?" Nora asked when Lily finally fell asleep. "If you want to, no pressure." "I want to. I'm terrified, but I want to." "Good terrified or bad terrified?" "Good terrified."
The kind that means something important is happening. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of paperwork, inspections, and nail-biting anxiety. Their offer was accepted. The inspection revealed minor issues, but nothing catastrophic. The bank approved their mortgage by the thinnest margin, and suddenly they were homeowners, standing in an empty house with keys in hand and no furniture except what they'd crammed into their tiny apartment. "We're going to need more stuff," Mark observed, his voice echoing in the empty living room. "So much more stuff," Nora laughed, slightly hysterical. "What did we just do?" "Something crazy and wonderful." He pulled her close. "Something that's going to be worth every penny and every moment of stress." They moved in on a Saturday in early November, Patricia and Mark's brothers helping haul furniture, while Lily supervised with the authority of a tiny general. By evening, they were surrounded by boxes and exhausted, eating pizza on the floor because they hadn't unpacked the table yet. "Best house ever," Lily declared, tomato sauce on her chin. "When can I get a dog?" "Let's survive one major life change at a time," Mark said. "But you said maybe when we got a house." "I said maybe. That's not the same as yes." "But it's not no either." Lily's logic was irrefutable. That night, after Lily was asleep in her new room, Nora and Mark lay on their mattress on the floor of the master bedroom, too tired to set up the bed frame. "We own a house," Nora said to the ceiling. "An actual house with a mortgage and property taxes and a yard we have to maintain." "Having second thoughts?" "No, just processing." She rolled to face him. "A year ago I was alone on Christmas Eve, thinking my life was over, and now I'm here, in a house we bought together, raising a child with the man I love. How did this happen?" Lily walked over to your table and refused to take no for an answer. Best decision she ever made. "Second best," Mark corrected. "The best was deciding you should be her bonus mom." They lay in comfortable silence, the house settling around them with creaks and groans as it adjusted to new occupants. Through the window, stars were visible, something impossible in their old neighborhood. "Mark?" Nora said softly. "Earlier you said, 'I'm your future.' Did you mean that?" "Every word." "Because I was thinking—" She paused, gathering courage. "Lily asked about marriage months ago, and we said eventually. But we never really talked about when eventually might be." Mark propped himself on his elbow, looking at her intently. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe eventually could be soon. Not tomorrow, not next week. But soonish. Because I know, Mark. I know this is it for me. You're it. This family is everything I've ever wanted. Are you proposing to me?" His voice was amused and touched. "Maybe. I don't have a ring or a plan. I just know I want to marry you. I want to be Lily's bonus mom officially. I want to build this life we're creating and make it permanent." Mark kissed her, slow and deep, full of promise. "I want that too. But Nora, when I propose, and I will propose, I want to do it right. Not on a mattress on the floor surrounded by moving boxes." "You're going to propose?" Her heart raced. "Of course I am. I've been planning it for months." He grinned at her shocked expression. "Did you really think I'd let this milestone pass without making sure you knew exactly how much you mean to me? You're impossible. You love it. I really do." 3 weeks later, on Thanksgiving, Patricia hosted dinner for the entire extended family. The house was chaos. 3 generations crammed into the dining room, kids running wild, the table groaning under the weight of food. Nora had spent the previous day helping Patricia cook, learning the family recipes, feeling more than ever like she belonged. As they gathered around the table, Mark stood, tapping his glass for attention. "Before we eat, I want to say something," he announced. "This past year has been the hardest and the best of my life. We lost Sarah 2 years ago, and I didn't think I'd ever feel whole again. But this woman, He looked at Nora, his eyes bright with emotion. She walked into our lives on the worst night and made it the best. She chose us when she didn't have to. She loved Lily like her own. She became part of this family with grace and patience and so much love. "Daddy, what are you doing?" Lily stage whispered. "Something I should have done months ago." Mark pulled a small box from his pocket and Nora's heart stopped. "Nora Hale, you make me want to be better. You make Lily laugh. You make our house a home. And I can't imagine spending another day without knowing you'll be by my side forever." He dropped to one knee and Lily squealed with delight. "Will you marry me?" Mark opened the box, revealing a simple diamond ring that caught the light perfectly. "Will you be my wife, Lily's bonus mom, and part of this family officially and forever?" Nora couldn't speak past the tears. She nodded frantically, and Mark stood, sliding the ring onto her finger before kissing her while the entire family erupted in cheers. Lily launched herself at them, hugging them both fiercely. "I knew it. I knew Daddy was going to ask. He's been acting weird for weeks." "You knew?" Nora laughed through her tears. "I helped pick the ring. Well, Grandma helped too. We wanted something simple but pretty." Lily admired the ring on Nora's hand. "Do you like it?" "I love it. It's perfect." Patricia appeared with champagne, tears streaming down her own face. "Welcome to the family, sweetheart. Officially this time." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of congratulations and planning. Jake's wife immediately started talking about venues while Thomas's husband offered to make the cake. Lily announced she would be the flower girl and also the ring bearer and possibly the officiant if they'd let her. "One role, Lily," Mark said, amused, "but I could do all three. I'm very talented." Later, when the guests had left and Lily was asleep upstairs, Nora and Mark sat on their new couch in their new house, her hand resting on his chest so she could watch the ring sparkle. "I can't believe you planned this with Lily," she said. "She insisted on being involved, threatened to tell you if I didn't include her." Mark traced the ring with his finger. "Do you really like it? We can exchange it if—" "Don't you dare, it's perfect." Nora kissed him. "You're perfect. This whole night was perfect. Wait until you see what I have planned for the wedding." "You're already planning the wedding?" "I've been planning it since August. I'm an architect. Planning is what I do." He grinned at her expression. "Don't worry, you get final say on everything. I just have ideas." "Should I be worried?" "Probably." They stayed up late talking about possibilities, spring or summer, small or large, where to go for a honeymoon if they could afford one. Everything felt possible now, their future stretching out bright and full of promise. The wedding took place on a Saturday in late May, in Patricia's backyard under string lights and flowering trees. It was small, just family and close friends, but perfect. Lily walked down the aisle first in a pale pink dress, carrying a basket of rose petals and taking her job very seriously. When she reached the altar, she turned to the assembled guests and announced, "My bonus mom is about to become my real bonus mom. Please be nice to her because she's the best." The guests laughed, and Nora, waiting with Maya as her maid of honor, pressed her hand to her mouth to keep from crying before she even started down the aisle. Mark stood under the arbor, looking devastatingly handsome in a dark suit, his eyes on the garden entrance, waiting. When Nora appeared, in a simple white dress that Nana would have loved, carrying wildflowers, his face transformed with wonder. The ceremony was short and sweet. They'd written their own vows, and when it was Mark's turn, he spoke directly to Nora like no one else existed. "I promise to make you pancakes every Saturday," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I promise to support your dreams and celebrate your victories and hold you through the hard days. I promise to be a partner, not just in the good times, but in the messy, complicated, real parts of life. And I promise to love you exactly as you are. Not too much, not too little, but exactly enough." Nora was crying before he finished. When it was her turn, she looked at him and Lily and found her voice. "I promise to show up," she said. "Every day, for the rest of our lives, I promise to show up. For you, for Lily, for this family we're building. I promise to be patient when things are hard and to celebrate when things are good. And I promise to never stop believing in us, in what we have and what we're becoming together." The officiant, a friend of Patricia's, smiled.
By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Mark, you may kiss your bride." He did, dipping her dramatically while their guests cheered. Lily jumped up and down, shouting, "They're married! They're officially married now!" The reception was a backyard barbecue, with dancing and laughter, and Lily showing off her flower girl dress to anyone who would look. As the sun set and the string lights glowed, Mark pulled Nora onto the makeshift dance floor for their first dance as husband and wife. "How are you feeling, Mrs. Ellison?" he murmured against her hair. "Like the luckiest woman alive." Nora looked up at him. "Though I'm keeping Hale as my middle name. Nora Hale Ellison. I like that. Honoring where you came from while embracing where you are." Exactly. They swayed together while their family watched, and Nora caught sight of Sarah's picture on the memorial table Patricia had set up, a gentle acknowledgement of the woman who'd started this family, whose loss had ultimately led to Nora finding her place in it. "Thank you," Nora whispered, not sure if she was talking to Sarah, to Nana, or to the universe that had arranged everything so perfectly. Lily wedged herself between them on the dance floor. "Can I dance too?" "Always," Mark said, lifting her up so she was sandwiched between them, all three moving together to the music. This was family, not perfect, not without its complications and ghosts, but real and chosen and full of love. Nora looked at her husband and her daughter and felt overwhelmed with gratitude for the blind date who'd walked out, for the little girl brave enough to ask if she was okay, for every moment that had led to this one. 6 months after the wedding, on a cold December evening, Nora stood in the kitchen making pancakes while Christmas music played and Mark wrestled with Lily's hair. It was Saturday morning routine, exactly like a year ago, but everything was different now. "Daddy, you're still bad at braids," Lily complained. "I'm getting better." "You're really not." Nora flipped a pancake and smiled. Some things never changed. "Bonus Mom, can you help?" Lily called. "Daddy's making my head look weird." "I think Daddy's doing great," Nora said, though the braid was definitely crooked. "You always say that because you love him." "Guilty." Mark caught Nora's eye and grinned, and she was hit with the overwhelming rightness of this moment. This was her life now: Saturday morning pancakes, crooked braids, a child who called her bonus mom, and a husband who looked at her like she was his whole world. Lily suddenly gasped. "It's almost Christmas Eve. Can we go back to Bellanote for anniversary?" "Anniversary?" Mark raised an eyebrow. "Of when we became a family. Last Christmas Eve when I walked over to Bonus Mom's table." Lily looked between them hopefully. "Can we? Please?" Mark looked at Nora, the question clear in his eyes. "Going back to where it started, closing the circle." "I think that's a perfect idea," Nora said softly. So on Christmas Eve, exactly 1 year after the worst blind date of Nora's life, they returned to Bellanote. They requested table 14 specifically. The waiter who'd witnessed Jason's departure happened to be working and did a double take when he saw them. "You came back," he said, delighted. "All three of you. And you're He noticed Nora's wedding ring. "Married?" "Married," Nora confirmed. "This is my husband Mark and our daughter Lily." "Our daughter Lily," she'd said, and Mark squeezed her hand under the table. They ordered too much food and told Lily the story of how they met. The sanitized version, leaving out the part about rejection and humiliation, focusing instead on the moment Lily walked over and changed everything. "I was very brave," Lily said with satisfaction. "You were," Nora agreed. "The bravest." "And now we're a family forever and ever." "Forever and ever," Mark confirmed. As they ate, Nora looked around the restaurant. Families celebrating, couples on dates, the ordinary magic of people sharing meals and lives. A year ago, she'd sat at this exact table alone and heartbroken, certain she'd never belong anywhere. Now she belonged everywhere that mattered. When the check came, Mark reached for it, but Nora stopped him. "Let me. It feels right." She paid with her credit card, the one that now said Nora Hale Ellison, and felt the weight of how far she'd come. Outside, snow was falling just like it had a year ago. Lily insisted on making snow angels in the restaurant parking lot before they left, and they all lay down in the fresh powder, moving their arms and legs, laughing like children. "Best Christmas Eve ever," Lily pronounced, admiring their 3 angels side by side. Even better than last year. Even better, Nora agreed, taking in her snow-covered husband and daughter, this life she'd built from the ashes of rejection. They drove home through the quiet streets, Lily falling asleep in her booster seat, Christmas lights twinkling in windows. Their house, their home, glowed warm and welcoming when they pulled up. After putting Lily to bed, Mark and Nora stood at the kitchen counter making hot chocolate, their own Christmas Eve tradition now. "Do you ever think about Jason?" Mark asked suddenly. "The blind date?" Nora considered. "Sometimes. Mostly to thank him." "Thank him?" "For walking out, for saying I was desperate, for being exactly the wrong person so I'd be sitting alone when Lily found me." Nora stirred her hot chocolate. "Best worst date ever." "Here's to bad dates leading to good lives," Mark said, raising his mug. They clinked mugs and drank, and Nora thought about the journey. From that restaurant table to this kitchen, from alone to belonging, from broken to whole. It hadn't been easy or simple or without challenges. There were still hard days, still moments when she doubted herself, still times when blending their family felt complicated. But there were more good days than bad, more laughter than tears, more love than she'd ever imagined possible. "What are you thinking about?" Mark asked, reading her expression. "How a year ago I thought my life was ending, and it was actually just beginning." Nora set down her mug and wrapped her arms around her husband. How one small act of kindness from a brave little girl changed everything. How showing up is sometimes the most important thing we can do. Showing up and saying yes when someone asks if you're okay. That too. They finished their hot chocolate and went upstairs, checking on Lily one more time. She was sprawled across her bed, Mr. Floppy Bottom clutched tight, peaceful and secure. In the master bedroom, Nora changed into pajamas and climbed into bed beside Mark, fitting herself against his side like she'd been designed to be there. "Merry Christmas, wife," Mark murmured, already half asleep. "Merry Christmas, husband." Through the window, snow continued to fall on their house, on their neighborhood, on the city where a year ago Nora had been certain she was unlovable. She'd been so wrong. She wasn't desperate or too much or not enough. She was exactly right. For this man, for this child, for this family they'd built together from courage and kindness and the willingness to say yes when life offered second chances. Sometimes the worst nights really did lead to the best mornings. Sometimes families were found, not inherited. And sometimes all it took was a little girl in a red velvet dress asking the bravest question in the world. "Can we join you?" And a woman brave enough to answer yes. Nora fell asleep smiling, her husband's arm around her waist, her daughter sleeping safely down the hall, the future stretching out bright and full of promise. This was her life now. Ordinary and extraordinary, messy and beautiful, exactly what she'd always needed but never knew to ask for. And it all started with pancakes, a blind date disaster, and a child who believed in universe moments. Best Christmas miracle